Welcome to The Thought Process. This podcast is a space for me to think out loud about ideas, experiences, questions, and whatever I'm sitting with in the moment. It's less about having answers and more about noticing how thoughts unfold as we move through things. Some episodes will feel clear, some might feel unfinished, and some will just be me working something out in real time. If you like reflection, honesty, or listening to someone think things through as they go, I'm really glad you're here. Let's get into it. Welcome back to The Thought Process. Today we're diving into lesson 3 of 30 before 30. Rejection is redirection. So in lesson 3, I want to talk about the quote or saying, rejection is redirection. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it today, okay? I'm not here to tell you that, go for it. Like, you're going to get rejected and you will immediately be redirected. No, I'm here to talk about the messy in between. I'm here to talk about the truth behind rejection is redirection. And I honestly wouldn't be here today, okay, if I didn't fully embody and have faith behind the fact that rejection is redirection. And there's so much power behind that as I say that, because if you would have told me 10 years ago, yeah, rejection is redirection, yeah, right. Like, you better work hard and it's going to work out. And if it doesn't, that just means you're a failure. Like, perfectionism is my kryptonite. Perfectionism has been with me since I was a kid. It will probably be with me forever. It's like, it's like that itch on your back. Oh my God. It's like that birthmark on your body that just won't go away. Like, it's forever going to be with me. I don't know why I just gave that as an analogy, but that's what we're going to go with today. And I'm not saying that rejection doesn't suck, because it does. Rejection sucks. It hurts, but it's the slow process. I think it's the beauty knowing that over time it gets better. Over time, you will get to a point where you understood why you had to be redirected. There was a reason why you were rejected by that person. There was a reason why you were rejected by that school or that program or that class that you wanted to take. There was a reason why you were rejected by that person, that friend, okay? And in that moment, unfortunately, you will not know why. But if you allow space, if you allow yourself to really accept what happened, you will eventually understand in the long run why it serves you more than you could have ever imagined. And that's where the beauty lies, in that in between. So I'm not going to stand on my soapbox and say that rejection is easy to accept in the moment, because it's not, okay? And you're going to feel like you want to throw in the towel, give up. But that is when it's so important not to. That is when it's the most important time to double down, buckle in, okay? And get to the point where you can create, that is where you create magic. It is right after the rejection. The amount of times I have been rejected and then you keep going, that is where the magic happens. And as I'm talking this through, I think that that's what I needed to hear today. Because as I get into my lessons of 30 before 30, there's so much that you obviously learn throughout your whole life, but you sometimes need to remind yourself that things will happen in the 11th hour, and it's right before you're about to throw in the towel that's when it happens. And I even wrote down times in my life when I have been rejected, and then not immediately, but afterwards you hold on to that vision and you end up getting redirected to something better than you could have ever imagined. Okay? I am sitting in this beautiful luxury apartment that if you would have told me 3 years ago, even 2.5 years ago, that at that point in half a year that you would be applying for a luxury apartment and somehow it would be in your within your budget, I would have scoffed and said, "What are you talking about?" Okay? Because there are things that happen in I want to say in the vortex. I guess yeah, in the vortex, in the middle, in the vortex, in the in between that we don't necessarily understand or know that are happening, but it's in those moments that if you hold the faith, if you hold the vision for long enough, things will conspire to work for you. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was I honestly wasn't even going to bring up this apartment. And as I sit and record in this apartment and think about how did I end up here? How did we end up here in this beautiful place? It's because of rejection and then being somehow redirected. There were moments, many moments coming up to the point of this wasn't even supposed to be available. The place where I'm sitting in wasn't even supposed to be on the market. And the crazy thing that happened was that year, we somehow just decided, we were like, no, like my partner was in school at the time and we're like, we're going to do this. This is closer to you. This is closer to me, like where I need to work, where you're going to school. You can walk to school. Everything just felt right. It felt like we were moving in the direction that we were supposed to. And then we got rejected. Like completely. I'm talking like it wasn't even in our budget. Like the numbers that came back had me in tears. And it was in that moment of holding the faith, even though I had no idea how we would end up where we are now. It couldn't have happened in a more insane way. You know, like all it took was me being curious. So basically, to give you kind of like the lowdown, was that we were looking at this place that my parents had actually recently moved into, and we wanted to move closer to them. We wanted to be closer to where he was going to school. I wanted to be closer to work. It just made sense. But the budget that they were giving us on paper made absolutely no sense. We couldn't afford it. So we're like, you know what? After I had a good cry, I was like, that's okay. We're going to get rejected. I like, this is a rejection because we physically, like, we just cannot, the numbers are just not crunching. Okay. So we end up going in. I basically make an appointment with the leasing office and I said, you know what, we're just going to come in for a tour. My mom really wanted to go look at the other suites in her building, and because they live in one type of suite, but all the other suites are different because every single layout is different size, different price range, all this stuff. So we end up just going to look at the different options that were available. He's going through the price ranges, and because we've already crunched the numbers, we already knew none of these were available to us in that moment because of what we were able to afford. So as we continue our conversation, he says, oh, but you know, I actually have one other suite available and it's going for X amount. And we just had a tenant leave, but I don't really know if you guys are interested, but it is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but it's on the 4th floor. We're like, okay. Like currently we were living on a 2nd floor of a building. So what did we care? Okay, this is a very tall building, but we don't need to be high up. Like whatever. It's not a big deal. He shows us the suite. And at that point, it was bigger than our current living situation where we were at before. He shows us the suite. And at that point, he tells us how much it costs. And I kid you not, I think my jaw dropped, my partner's jaw dropped. We were in shock. Like it made no sense. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm sorry. Like you showed us all these like out of our price range. We thought we were going to have to go down to 1 bedroom. Like we're like, we can't do that. We have, you know, like we both were coming and consolidating like 2 homes together. Like it makes no sense. And I was like, and we have 2 dogs. Like this just, it physically did not make sense. And then he shows us this beautiful apartment suite that is in our price range, that we aren't going an insane amount up. And basically we were still in our budget. We were going a little bit above our budget, but we were staying in our budget. And then on top of that, he tells us how the new For the next year, they're having this promo that basically we can get 1 month rent free. Charge We can get 1 month of free rent. And we were like, okay. So then, but he said, but instead of just getting 1 month, you can also split it up across the 12 months. So basically, when we chalked it down to how much it was, we we ended up paying the exact same amount we were currently paying for our apartment that was 40 minutes from where we worked. Okay, we were so far from everything. We were on the other side of the world. And you're telling us that we got to pay the same amount to live in a luxury apartment downtown in the center of the city. Like, it blew our minds. And in that moment, we realized that all those rejections prior to that, we realized we were looking at other places, nothing was working, that, we were thinking about different ways to shift our lifestyle of how we were going to make this work. And all it took was realizing that the rejection was just a redirection to something better that we could have never even imagined. And that's just one story. I have another beautiful story that I want to share about my first teaching job and how basically I felt like a failure. And looking back, it's crazy to see how life unfolds, because you truly never know how good it's going to get until it gets good. And then you're like, how did I even end up where I am? And so basically, at the time when I graduated from university, all my friends automatically got teaching jobs. There was no question. And I was the last one. And it was like a month after. And next thing you know, it's 2 months after. And I'm like, this is it. Like, I really thought that I was going to be able to break into the world of teaching and, not have issues with this. And it just wasn't going my way. And I realized that I was holding the faith for something that I knew I wanted. I wasn't going to dim my light, which I talked about last episode. I wasn't going to dim my light for something that I didn't feel aligned to. And that was a point when this was during COVID, and I was really learning how to work with my energy and kind of work with what works best with me. Like, what do I actually want? And so, long story short, I'm not going to go into this story maybe another day, but I ended up not getting a job that I thought I was going to get because the principal that interviewed me just loved me and it just sounded like it was the perfect job. She actually ended up having to reject me because of other there's another person that already technically had the job. It was just a formality that she had to interview. But that ended up redirecting me. That rejection ended up redirecting me in a completely other way that I had never seen coming. And it's when you hold the faith and you kind of don't lose expectations, but you allow the universe to do its job, that the beautiful, crazy things happen. That's when all of a sudden I get a call and she tells me to apply for another job with her friend at a different school. And it ends up being my dream job. Like, to the point when I couldn't even make this up. Like, I didn't even know this kind of job was even available in the sphere of teaching. And then it becomes mine. And from there, it's history. And I could go on and on about these amazing rejection to redirection stories. And, one day maybe I'll go into a couple more. But I just want to say that there's always something better on the other side of that which you cannot think will ever get better. Did that sentence even make sense? There's always something better on the side when you don't think it's going to get better. And just one more thing I wanted to say was that I love That's So Raven, and I'm going to just constantly drop these like weird pop culture just kind of references in. But I love That's So Raven so perfect as a metaphor, because she knows what's coming, right? Like the vision that she has doesn't prevent what's going to happen, but it redirects her choices, which I think is so funny, because she knows that something isn't right, but that doesn't mean that she's going to avoid the pain. Like all she's doing is prolonging the pain, but like in a different way. So I think it's so cool because basically for us, knowing something isn't right doesn't mean that we should avoid the pain. It means choosing differently because of it. Okay, so Raven doesn't avoid rejection. She receives information, she misinterprets it, she tries to fight it, and then she learns to redirect herself. And that's exactly how rejection works. And I think it's such a cool like metaphor to think about because rejection is not a stop sign. It's more like Raven's version, okay? Confusing at first, frustrating in the moment, but quietly trying to keep you on the right path. Actually, I love that as I said that. Rejection isn't always a stop sign. Sometimes it's more like Raven's vision. Confusing at first, frustrating in the moment, but quietly trying to keep you on the right path. Okay, so sorry, I got lost in my thoughts. I mean, it is the thought process. So to end off this episode, I just want to leave you with some reflection questions. Can you think of a time when you were rejected and then something better came along? How did you hold that faith? Number 2, what are you most scared of? What are you truly most scared of will happen in your life? Okay? And number 3, where have the no's in life led you? Oh, that kind of gave me like goosebumps. I love rejection to redirection stories. I was just watching the Golden Globes last night, and with the whole K-pop Demon Hunters Golden song and just the artist, that is the essence of what rejection to redirection is. So I'm going to leave you with that for now, with those questions in mind. Thanks for listening, and I hope this sparked some type of joy in your life, even if it just gave you something to think about. Until next time, see you on the thought process.